Hello. This clear and loud sound from a European crane started this very first podcast from AMIS, Denmark. My name is Jens Krag Nielsen. I am technician and editor in this podcast. We also have two hosts. The first, James Oxford, will tell you about the history and give an overview of the geopolitical situation from Kyrgyzstan, and Tilek, who wanna tell you about the work of AMIS in Kyrgyzstan in the past, now and in the future. And Tilek, do you want to introduce yourself for the audience?
Hi, my name is Tilek, and I work with AMIS since 2018. At the beginning, I was as a volunteer. Then I took up some extra tasks, like as a project coordinator, and at some point I was also president of AMIS, and later on I stepped down. So currently I'm working with projects as a volunteer, and so yeah, that's about me and AMIS.
About tech. Cross-press in civil society in Kyrgyzstan between Russia and China, where we will take a closer look at civil rights and civil society in Kyrgyzstan, caught between the great powers Russia and China. This podcast is part of AMS work with Kyrgyzstan and our event in Aarhus, the 16th of November 2024. The information project was supported by CISU Civil Society in Development. In today's episode, we explore how civil society in Kyrgyzstan fights for democratic values, human rights, and active citizenship in a politically challenging environment. The cross-press on the Kyrgyz civil society is increasing these years. We will talk about the challenges faced by civil society organizations and the geopolitical influences from Russia and China. Introduction to AMIS project works in Kyrgyzstan. AMIS is a non-governmental organization. AMIS stands for A More Inclusive Society, and in French means friend. AMIS is more than 30 years old, founded in 1994, with name the European House. And AMIS, under the European House, planted its roots in Kyrgyzstan with a bold mission to foster inclusion, empower communities, and ignite innovation. Most notably through its advocacy for labor market integration for people with disabilities. A standout achievement was the establishment of 2 job inclusion facilities in Bishkek and Nukan, which have trained and empowered over 42 young people with disabilities to enter the workforce. These facilities producing 6 tons of tomatoes and 2 tons of cucumbers, and dignity that inclusion creates. This is a groundbreaking alternative to institutionalization, fostering independence and community engagement. In April and May 2019, 21 retired Danish professionals embarked on a journey to Kyrgyzstan to connect with university students in Bishkek and Osh. Through lively English workshops, cultural exchanges, and shared songs, they built bridges across generations and opened doors to global communication. Beyond this, AMIS has mobilized over 182 facilitators, launched a national network for advocacy, and conducted a historic conference in 2018, bringing together 450 changemakers. Even in the face of challenges, including the untimely loss of a key partner leader, the project thrived through resilience, adaptability, and collaboration. Let's look at the background and context. Let us start with a brief history and geography of Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan, a landlocked gem in Central Asia, spans just under 200,000 square kilometers, about the size of Spain. Home to 6.7 million people, it boasts a youthful, diverse population. Its economy relies on agriculture, remittances, and gold mining, with mountains shaping both its geography and opportunities. Nestled in the heart of Central Asia, Kyrgyzstan is a rugged, mountainous nation with a rich nomadic history. Kyrgyzstan, often called the Switzerland of Central Asia for its breathtaking mountain landscapes, is a nation with a deep nomadic heritage. Gaining independence in 1991 after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, this landlocked country embarked on a challenging journey to establish its identity and sovereignty. It has navigated a delicate balance between Russia and China, shaping its unique identity while embracing its strategic crossroads. Strategically located between two global powerhouses, Russia to the north and China to the east, Kyrgyzstan has had to carefully navigate its geopolitical relationships. Russia remains a cultural and political influencer, while China's Belt and Road Initiative has brought significant economic opportunities, as well as challenges. Despite its small size and limited resources, Kyrgyzstan is rich in culture and history, from the ancient Silk Road passing through its cities to its nomadic traditions that still thrive today. The country's democratic experiments, economic struggles, and stunning landscapes have made it a fascinating case study in post-Soviet transformation. This episode will take you on a journey through Kyrgyzstan's dramatic geography and its resilient steps toward forging a path of its own in a complex and shifting global landscape. Geopolitical pressure from Russia and China. Kyrgyzstan, a small yet strategically vital nation, sits at the crossroads of global powers. Russia wields cultural and political sway, with labor remittances forming a lifeline for its economy, while China invests heavily in infrastructure through its Belt and Road Initiative. These influences, while offering opportunities, also bring challenges, fostering dependency, debt, and pressure on democratic governance. How does Kyrgyzstan, a small nation nestled between Russia and China, balance opportunity with independence? From political pressure to economic dependency, it's a tightrope walk of survival and strategy. Kyrgyzstan finds itself at the center of a geopolitical tug-of-war, navigating the cross-pressure between Russia and China. Russia remains a key ally, providing economic lifelines through remittances from Kyrgyz workers and influencing its cultural and political frameworks. On the other hand, China has emerged as a dominant economic force, pouring investments into Kyrgyzstan through the Belt and Road Initiative and creating a critical dependency on infrastructure development and loans. China's economic engagement in Kyrgyzstan is part of its broader Belt and Road Initiative, focusing on infrastructure development and trade enhancement. Major investments include building roads, railways, and energy facilities, connecting Kyrgyzstan more closely with regional markets. While these projects aim to boost economic growth, they also increase Kyrgyzstan's debt to China and expand China's influence in the region, raising concerns about long-term economic dependence. Russia maintains significant economic, political, and military involvement in Kyrgyzstan. Economically, Russia is a major trade partner and energy supplier. Politically, Russia supports Kyrgyzstan's government, especially during times of instability, and the country is a member of Russian-led organizations like the Eurasian Economic Union. Militarily, Russia operates a key airbase in Kant, reinforcing its strategic presence. These efforts solidify Russia's influence, but also limit Kyrgyzstan's ability to pursue an independent foreign policy. The USA's presence in Kyrgyzstan has diminished, especially after closing the Manas airbase in 2014. Currently, the US focuses on supporting democratic reforms, economic development, and security through programs funded by USAID. Despite reduced influence compared to Russia and China, the US continues to engage diplomatically and support civil society to promote stability and democratic governance. The EU, similar to the USA, emphasizes support for democratic reforms, human rights, and sustainable development in Kyrgyzstan. Through various aid programs, the EU aims to strengthen the rule of law and civil society. However, the increasing influence of Russia and China, along with restrictive laws on NGOs, challenges the EU's ability to impact significant change. The EU continues to advocate for openness and inclusivity despite these obstacles. While these relationships offer significant opportunities, they come with strings attached. Russia's influence sometimes stifles democratic reform, while China's growing economic footprint raises concerns over debt dependency and sovereignty. Kyrgyzstan, however, is not just a passive player. It strategically leverages these ties to bolster its economy while exploring partnerships with other global powers like Turkey and international institutions to diversify its alliances. In this episode, we delve into how Kyrgyzstan maneuvers this complex landscape, balancing economic growth with preserving autonomy and fostering democratic aspirations amidst immense external pressures, especially focusing on the impact on civil society. Civil society in Kyrgyzstan plays a crucial role in the country's democratic development and the protection of citizens' rights. NGOs are at the forefront of promoting human rights, freedom of expression, equality, and the rule of law. They have been instrumental in highlighting issues like corruption, fair elections, and government transparency. Despite increasing pressure and restrictive laws, these organizations continue to advocate for reform and hold the government accountable, serving as a stabilizing force in a fragile political environment.
In April and May 2019, 20 retired Danish professionals embarked on a journey to Kyrgyzstan to connect with university students in Bishkek and Osh. Through lively English workshops and cultural exchanges and shared songs, they built bridges across generation and opened doors to global communication. Also beyond this, AMIS has mobilized over 182 facilitators, launched a national network for advocacy, and conducted a historic conference in 2019, bringing together 450 changemakers. Even in the face of challenges, including the untimely loss of the key partner leader in Kyrgyzstan, the project thrived and through resilience, adaptability, and collaboration. So even though we concluded our projects 2019 in Kyrgyzstan, we still trying to indirectly working with them and planning to have more projects soon.
In April 2024, Kyrgyzstan enacted a law imposing stringent regulations on non-governmental organizations, NGOs, receiving foreign funding. These NGOs must now register as foreign representatives and comply with rigorous reporting and auditing requirements. The law's broad definition of political activity encompasses various areas, potentially subjecting numerous organizations to these constraints. Critics argue that this legislation mirrors Russia's 2012 Foreign Agents Law, which has been used to suppress civil society. International bodies, including the UN, have expressed concerns that such measures could undermine freedoms of expression, association, and assembly in Kyrgyzstan. Despite these apprehensions, the Kyrgyz government maintains that the law enhances transparency and accountability among NGOs operating within its borders.
The daily life of civil society in Kyrgyzstan now. It's civil society really going through some tough time now because government putting a lot of pressure to control. There is an increasing attempts by the authorities to control the media environment and suppresses discussion on issues of public interest. And increasing intimidation and harassment of journalists, bloggers, civil society activists, lawyers, and others who criticize the authorities and speak out on the corruption and other issues that are sensitive to those in power. So we are having a lot of civil activists are currently in jail, and recently in 2024 government and parliament adopted a new law about foreign agents, which was first also adopted in Russia, and then Then Kyrgyzstan followed Russia's example.
How civil society can survive. Warrington also has many musical groups, resisting the pressure, strategies for democracy and human rights in Kyrgyzstan. In the face of mounting restrictions on civil society, Kyrgyzstan's activists and organizations are fighting back with resilience and innovation. Using digital campaigns, international alliances, and grassroots citizen engagement, they're keeping the flame of democracy alive. These strategies amplify voices, build solidarity, and challenge oppressive systems. Let's take a small illustrative example.
Picture a small human rights group in Bishkek with physical protests tightly monitored. They shift their activism online. So, currently we have all social media and a lot of meetings moving online, so we can actually do protest online as well. Through social media platforms, they launch a campaign spotlighting stories of ordinary citizens affected by restrictive law. Also, hashtags like freedom for all gain traction, drawing international attention. Meanwhile, the organization partners with global watchdogs like Amnesty International, ensuring that Kyrgyzstan struggles reach the UN and other influential forums. On the ground, the group organizes community workshops empowering citizens to understand their rights and advocate for local issues. In villages, they distribute guides on legal protection and engage youth activism, planting the seeds of grassroots movements. These efforts collectively resist authoritarian pressure, showing that democracy isn't just about institutions, but about the power of people united for justice. So, Kyrgyzstan civil society is proving that even in the face of restrictive laws and authoritarian pressures, democratic aspiration can endure. By leveraging bold strategies, activists are creating ripples of hope that keep the dream of democracy alive. So they can, civil society can do digital campaigns for awareness. Activists use social media by bypass traditional controls, connecting with local and international audiences. Campaigns like Stand with Kyrgyzstan showcase stories of resistance and resilience, sparkling global solidarity and keeping pressure on the government to uphold rights. International alliances, partnership with global NGOs, human rights organizations, and international institutions amplify Kyrgyzstan's voice on the world stage. These alliances bring critical attention to restrictive laws and advocate for diplomatic intervention, ensuring that Kyrgyzstan democratic challenges don't go unnoticed. Third, citizen engagement. Grassroots movements are empowering communities to take ownership of their democratic rights. Workshops, town hall meetings, and youth-led initiatives foster awareness and local action. By engaging citizens directly, activists are building a foundation of democratic values from the ground up. And the last, creative advocacy. Artists, musicians, and writers are contributing to the fight by embedding themes of freedom and resistance into their work. Public murals, protest songs, and viral videos stir emotions and create a cultural movement for the change. These combined efforts not only counteract authoritarian pressure but also nurture a resilient civil society. In a country at the crossroad of democracy and repression, these bold strategies are testament to the power of the freedom burns on.
Kyrgyzstan, often celebrated for its relative political openness in Central Asia, is now grappling with efforts to curtail civil society's influence. Political forces are pushing for laws aimed at restricting NGOs and independent organizations, framing them as tools of foreign interference. These laws, such as the recent foreign representative designation for NGOs receiving international funding, impose onerous reporting requirements and severe penalties for non-compliance. Critics fear these measures mirror authoritarian tactics used in neighboring states to stifle dissent and erode democratic norms. Let us take an illustrative example, Sahi. Imagine a grassroots organization advocating for women's rights in rural Kyrgyzstan. This NGO relies on foreign grants to fund its programs, which provide education and legal aid to marginalized communities. Under the new law, it must now register as a foreign representative, facing increased scrutiny, labeling, and potential public distrust. Administrative burdens and the threat of fines or closure force the organization to scale back its activities or shut down entirely. This chilling effect on civil society sends a clear message. Advocacy and dissent may no longer be tolerated, edging Kyrgyzstan closer to authoritarianism. Tune in to explore the strategies, resistance, and consequences of this pivotal shift.
So currently we are having mass arrests of government critics and an escalating crackdown of dissent, and a lot of peaceful protests and gatherings are banned in Kyrgyzstan. So our counterparts and in Kyrgyzstan, for example, they had to change their registration in how to say, they had to change their statute because if in your statute saying that you are for human rights and advocacy of human rights, you go directly to foreign agent list. And a lot of civil society organizations, they are closing down because they cannot fulfill government's new requirements. And so also it's becoming very traditional, and they are saying like tradition, like government pushing whatever civil society working on, saying it's against Kyrgyz traditional values, and it become a widespread mechanism for the authoritarian regime in Kyrgyzstan to fight for freedom of speech and human rights. So,
what role Western countries and organizations can play in the future to support civil society in Kyrgyzstan? How can they help sustain democracy and human rights? Western countries and organizations can play a critical role in supporting Kyrgyzstan's civil society as it faces increasing authoritarian pressures. Here's how they can help sustain democracy and human rights. Provide financial support. International grants and funding are vital for Kyrgyzstan's NGOs to operate independently. Western governments and institutions can expand funding for civil society projects, ensuring they have the resources to continue their work despite restrictive laws. Offer training and capacity building. Western organizations can provide technical assistance, training activists in areas like digital security, advocacy strategies, and community organizing. These tools can empower local leaders to navigate challenges more effectively. Strengthen international advocacy. Through platforms like the UN, EU, and OSCE, Western countries can raise concerns about restrictive laws in Kyrgyzstan, applying diplomatic pressure to uphold freedoms. Publicly supporting activists and NGOs can also lend legitimacy to their work. Foster exchanges and partnerships. Programs that connect Kyrgyz activists with counterparts in other democracies create opportunities for knowledge sharing and solidarity. Cultural, academic, and professional exchanges help strengthen ties and build a global network of support. Support digital activism. Western tech companies and organizations can provide tools and platforms to enhance digital campaigns. Training in digital communication, cybersecurity, and combating misinformation will help Kyrgyz activists navigate an increasingly digital landscape. Condition aid on democratic progress. Can tie assistance to measurable commitments to protect civil society, human rights, and democratic reforms. This ensures accountability while supporting long-term democratic development.
Particular AMIS can play a critical role in supporting Kyrgyzstan civil society as it faces increasing authoritarian pressures, and here how they can help sustain democracy and human rights. First, provide financial support. For example, international grants and fundings are vital for Kyrgyzstan's NGOs to operate independently. Western governments and institutions can expand funding for civil society projects, ensuring they have the resources to continue their work despite restrictive laws. And next, offer training and capacity building. Danish organization or Western organizations can provide technical assistance, training activists in areas like digital security, advocacy strategies, and community organizing. These tools can empower local leaders to navigate challenges more effectively. And also strengthen international advocacy through platforms like UN, EU, and OSCE. Western countries can raise concerns about restrictive laws in Kyrgyzstan, applying democratic pressure to uphold freedoms. Publicly supporting activists and NGOs can also lead legitimacy to their work. Also, foster exchanges and partnerships, programs that connect Kyrgyz activists with counterparts in other democracies, create opportunities for knowledge sharing and solidarity. Cultural, academic, and professional exchanges help strengthen ties and build a global network of support. Support digital activism. Western tech companies and organizations can provide tools and platforms to enhance digital campaigns. Training in digital communication, cybersecurity, and combating misinformation will help Kyrgyzstan activists navigate an increasingly digital landscape. And the last, condition aid on democratic progresses. Western governments providing aid to Kyrgyzstan can tie assistance to measurable commitment to protect civil society, human rights, and democratic reforms. This ensures accountability while supporting long-term democratic development. I think these are the work and activities can be done by Danish and Western partners, so to support Kyrgyzstan civil society.
AMIS is already on the ground, empowering local communities, advocating for human rights, and creating opportunities for individuals with disabilities. With strengthened partnerships and support from global allies, AMIS can amplify its impact, building a more inclusive and democratic Kyrgyzstan, where civil society leads the way. Together, we can turn shared values into action, ensuring freedom and dignity for all. Together with its partners, AMIS looks forward to driving transformative projects that champion dignity, inclusion, and empowerment in Kyrgyzstan. By empowering civil society, AMIS believes the country can take bold steps toward a brighter, more inclusive future. As Kyrgyzstan navigates its complex path between tradition and transformation, one thing remains clear: the resilience of its people and the power of collaboration can shape a brighter future. From the voices of activists to the work of organizations like AMIS, the fight for inclusion, democracy, and human rights is alive and inspiring. As we wrap up this episode, we want to take a moment to thank everyone who made this podcast possible. And huge shout out to our incredible technicians Jens Krag Nielsen and Carsten N, who ensured every word was captured with clarity and precision, and to our producer Henrik Halbro, whose vision and dedication brought this episode to life. And thank you to CISU for supporting this project and event, Taimeli. To our listeners, thank you for joining us as we explored the challenges and triumphs shaping Kyrgyzstan's journey. Your engagement fuels the dialogue for inclusion, democracy, and human rights. Together, let's continue to support the efforts that bring dignity, opportunity, and hope to Kyrgyzstan. Thank you.